Welcome to the Lazy Fluency podcast, where we have casual conversations switching between English and Japanese, so you can learn from and with us along the way. I'm Joey.
And I'm Ayami.
And the topic of the day is...
上下関係。イェイイェイ。
イェイ。
イェイイェイ。まあ今回その上下関係について語りたいんですけど、まあちょっと quick disclaimer で、disclaimer なんて言うんだまあ、注意事項
忠告
だ、そうそう。忠告として、決して、私の周りのことを話してるんではなく、なんだ、日本の文化の全体的な、ものに関する、意見でございますのでね。決してね、私が性格悪いとか思わないでください。はい。性格めちゃめちゃいいんでね。うん。
You can just think, my personality is bad instead.You can take all your complaints and I'll take them.
そうそうそう。まあ、決して個人的なものではないので、ご注意くださいまし。はい。で、まあ、今回上下関係ということで、私はね、先輩後輩とかいうものはいらないと考えてるんですよ。はい。
As in, this is like personally, or are you thinking like as a society, or...
そうそう、だから、
What's the scope here?
as a society で、もう社会的、もう文化として、なんでそういうことするかなっていう。だってさ、何もいいことなくない？先輩後輩があるってことでさ、ちょっと距離感じるし、あと、なんだろう。やっぱり無言のプレッシャーとか感じるじゃん。その先輩がこう言うから、自分はこう思わないけど、先輩に言われたからやらないといけないとかね。そういう、わかる？
Yeah. I mean, I think that like exists wherever you're at, except it's normally not put into such a formal, like rule set that kind of, I don't know if China, but I know Korea and Japan both have that, like, superior versus junior thing. Although I believe in Korea, in Japan, age is a factor, but I think in Korea, age is even more important than it is in Japan.
韓国だと結構、授業だけなんか、ものすごい日本より厳しいよね。誰が一番先に食べるとか確か。なんか忘れちゃったけど。そうそうそう。
Yeah, I was listening to recently somebody who was teaching in Korea, and apparently one of the hardest things for children to understand was like the English term, teaching English. So there's the English term friend, and apparently the Korean students didn't understand that they could call people older than them their friends. Because they're like, hey, that person's older than me, so friend shouldn't work. You know what I'm saying?
それ良くないよね。だって人ってさ、対等であるからこそさ、喋れる話題であったりさ、自分の、話を、まあ、気兼ねなく、まあ話せるとかね。そういうのって絶対あるからさ、なんでこういう文化にしたのって感じ。
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally the idea of like somebody having more knowledge than you and like teaching that, I think makes sense to some extent, but I think like mandating it or expecting it as a given is kind of where you have a problem, because like I'm all for like somebody earning my respect, but when it's like assumed by default just because they were born like 4 months like before I was, it kind of gets pretty everything falls apart in my opinion.
ね、ちょっとバカバカしいよね、そういうのね。あと、まあ日本だとさ、先輩が後輩におごるっていう文化が、ものすごくなんか無言の、暗黙の了解か、そう。無言じゃない。暗黙の了解としてあって、これもなんかちょっと意味わかんないんだよ。なんでこんなことするんっていう。私は、まあ、決してね、後輩におごりたくないってわけじゃなくてね、この文化として、私自身、まあ自分は先輩でもあり、後輩でもあるのよ。まあ、今、 その学年4年だから、上にまあ5、6年先輩いて、で、下にはまあ3年、2年、1年っているわけよ。で、私自身、後輩で、そのまあ、ご飯行くときとかは、先輩がまあ、その、いいよいいよっつって払ってくれるんだけどさ、なんか、後輩として払わされるのがすごく申し訳ないし、逆に嫌なのよ。払ってもらうのが。
Yeah.
で、
Something I don't understand about... Oh, go ahead.
いいよいいよ。どうぞどうぞ。
Yeah, about that specific situation. Is there there's... Okay, if it's like a teacher-student, I kind of get it. Like if you're going out to eat, there's an expectation for the... maybe a teacher to provide more money for something than the students because they have like a paycheck. But the problem, the more you think about it, the more everything stops making sense because like salaries aren't that high in Japan. And especially if you're still in school, just because you're 1 year up, like fundamentally, if you have like a second year college student and a third year college student, their pay is going to be like basically the same, assuming they're both even working. But despite that, one of them is expected to pay for like 3, 4, 5 people.
そう。
Which is kind of brutal.
マジで意味わかんないとか言っちゃうとあれだけどさ。これ本当にね、決して個人的な、周りに関することじゃなくて、全体的なね、日本の文化全体的に対する意見だから、まずさ、その、学生同士でさ、おごるおごらないっていうのが意味わからない、マジで。だって学生ってどっちも働いてて、大体同じ対等な、関係じゃん？もうさっき言ってたようにさ、先生と生徒だったらさ、それは確実に、収入の面では全然違うしさ。
I mean, I do think it's still a little, like, in like practice it sounds cool, but it doesn't work at all. Like, I'm not saying who and what situation this happened or whatever, but I've had a teacher where when I went to Japan where we got taken out to like an izakaya, like at the end of our term, and we like the teacher at first, like everybody was ordering, he's like, oh no, yeah, we're all good, yeah, you guys can get it, it's on me. And then at the end of the whole thing, he like looks at the check and he's like, so actually can you guys all chip in? And we were fine because a lot of us were like, it's like American, so whatever, yeah, cool. But I was just like, bruh, obviously you can't pay for 20 different students when you're telling him get whatever you want. But I think he also felt obligated to like, give that option to everybody.
そうで、文化としてあるからさ、私が先輩におごっていただいたから、これを続けなきゃいけないっていう、その、責任みたいなのもあるからさ、私が嫌だと思ってもやらないといけないわけよ。だからそのさ、さっき言ってたように、先生と生徒で行った場合にさ、20人生徒連れてってさ、先生は払わなきゃいけないっていう、なんていうの、責任みたいなの感じるわけじゃん。
Yeah, I definitely think that is what he was feeling.
それって、なんていうの？よくないっていうか、なんか、個人的に何がしたいのって感じ。それから何を得られるのっていう。
I mean, there's another example of this, like where, well, let's say like another example of kind of expectations creating very bad situations for the majority of people. 1 second. Is during like work environments, especially like Japanese work environments, where people who are older are expected to leave earlier, like than people who are younger. And so if somebody who's older than you, like let's say you've already gotten your work done, but somebody like older than you hasn't left your work by the time that you want to leave, then you just kind of have to, or the expectation is that you sit there pretending to do work, so that it won't look like you're not grateful for your senpai's working or something like that.
なんかね、それも上下関係だよね。年上とか、 なんていうの、会社での地位が高い人が先に帰って、後からその後輩たちっていうのが見送るみたいな感じ。見送る見届けるみたいな。
Yeah.
ね。
Do you have any, I'm curious, do you like have any like the like experience with like the 上下関係 in like sports, like team sports or like clubs? I'm curious as to how that, because I know at least have a very good idea of how that happens with like work and like education, like where you have like the upperclassmates or whatever have like.
なんかその
go ahead.
中学、高校とかで、まあ運動部だったんだけど、そのストレッチの時にさ、マットとか配るじゃん。
I mean, I've done that before, yes, but
そうとか、
depending on my sport, but yeah.
そう。あとは、なんだ、その、部活で作った飲み物とかを、その、まあみんなに配るとかね。そういう時に、まず、先輩から配るの。先輩にマットを先に渡す。先輩に先に飲み物を渡す。っていう感じ。
Oh, that's a little. And so, but with like a lot of these sports, at least or clubs, if they're not like very big, they're just ran by students, right? Primarily?
中学高校は、まあ、なんていうの先生がついてたんだけど、大学だとね、多分、まあ、学生が中心で運営するのかな、部活は。
Yeah, because in those situations, I just can't imagine, like in my experience, it's like if somebody is trying to force, it's not they're forcing themselves, but like, for example, I've had an experience when I was playing soccer where, we were like having to decide who we wanted to be the captain, and we had different. Well, the majority of the team felt like they wanted some people, like if they had to choose somebody, the people that are already kind of communicating a lot with the rest of the team, I would be somebody who's kind of in this position as well. But the thing is, I was like, man, that's too much work. I'm not feeling like doing that. So what ended up happening is we had somebody who the majority of the team did not respect at all, basically, decide that he wanted to be captain, and everybody else was like, okay, I guess whatever. And then he basically just went like on a power trip the entire like season, basically trying to get people to respect his authority, which obviously when you're literally in the same grade in this case, you're not fooling anybody. It's not like everybody feels like, for example, like when you're all like in high school or whatever, and somebody's just 1 year above you. From my experience, that doesn't really mean that much. So I kind of find the whole notion of like how much credit is given to like a 5-month difference of experience to be hilarious.
それね。そうなんだよ。だって、学年の中でもさ、まあ日本は4月からなんていうの、新しい学年が始まるからさ、3月生まれの人は、1個上の学年になるのね。で、4月生まれの人は、まあ、1個下の学年になるのよ。だから、3月31日生まれの人は、まあ、例えば2年生で、4月1日生まれの人は、まあ、1年生になるわけよ。そんな、たった1日の違いでさ、先輩後輩になるんだよ。おかしくない
that actually sounds hilarious.
でしょ
1日だよ。I would like to see a conversation between two people, like, or two like friends that are only a day different. So hold up. In that hypothetical, what actually happens? You know what I'm saying? Do you actually get senpai treatment?
じゃないの？だって学年が上だからさ。まあ、まずさ、なんていうの、誕生日とかわかんないわけだからさ、話してるときに。誕生日いつですかって聞かない限りさ、わかんないわけじゃん。その人が何月何日生まれって。
Wait, hold up. So, I mean, yeah, I agree. But what happens when you're older but in a younger grade?
まあ、そうすると、普通に、年上であっても後輩は後輩だよ。後から学校に来たから。
Is that still true? If like, okay, for example, we have a thing called, well, there are like situations, well, for college or sometimes high school, where either they're like, I think they're called non-traditional students, where they'll like decide to go to college like in their 30s or 40s. Or something like that. Do you get senpai in that? Are you senpai in that case?
そう、例えばね、そう、なんか。
But your first year, so, okay, let's say I am a third year.
はい。
And then this 40-year-old is a first year. Is he my senpai?
40歳の人が1年生にいるってことでしょ？そうすると、それは、後輩です。あなたが先輩です。
Even if he's 40? Imagine this. So you're saying I'm supposed to treat him seriously? You're saying like I'm supposed to be like,
本当にそう。
後輩、
そう。
give me your, I don't know, your lunch money, 後輩。
そうそう。だって実際に、私、年齢的にね、年下の人が、ごめん、年上の人が、後輩にいるわけ。私は4年生です。で、まあ、21歳です。で、23とか4とかの人が3年生にいる。それは後輩だから、私は先輩として振る舞って、相手は後輩として振る舞
う。What happens after you graduate? Let's assume same situation, but we've graduated now.
まあ、そしたらもう。
Does he get a senpai-ness back, or am I still a perpetual?
いやー、私が先輩だね、多分。卒業しても。
That's so funny. So,
なんでかって。
Wait, you're always senpai? I'm always senpai in this situation?
そう。おかしいよね。
Do you have ridiculous? There's no way. What? That doesn't make any sense.
そうなんだ。
Wait, hold up. You're saying what? Okay, what if this person had like 10 years of work experience in the field that I'm like? Okay, how about like, let's say they were like an artist for like 10 years or something, but then they decided they wanted to go to art school just for fun. So they have like 10 years of work experience in the field I'm studying, and they're way better than me.
後輩だね。
That is insane.
でしょ？だから例えばさ、その特定の、なんていうの？領域に初めに入った方が先輩なんだよ。年が下であっても。
But hold up. But this is not true though when you're not talking. Okay, so this is weird, but I think this is true. Same situation, but that my kohai talks to somebody from a different school. So a different school who graduated the same year I graduated. Is the 40-year-old now a senpai? Because you know what I'm saying? A lot of times senpai is used about experience. Like somebody's really good at something, so they get the sensei treatment. So what I'm saying is like, so different school, but same year. And so it's post-graduation. Like, I feel like the older man gets to be senpai to that person. Because they were never explicitly that person's kohai.
待って、同じ年に、卒業だけど。
Same year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same. They basically, somebody else graduated the same year I did from a different school. And so then my kohai meets this person who is senpai.
同じぐらい、先輩のレベルとしては同じだと思うよ。なんでかっていうと同じ学年だから。年齢が、上だが下だが同じ年に、卒業したら、先輩レベルっていうのは同じ。
What, you think that though? So imagine this, we went to like, okay, you're meeting somebody at like a nomikai. And everybody introduces themselves. In other words, says like, I'm Taro, 45 歳. And somebody's like, I don't know, what's a Japanese name? I'm
Saburo. Jiro.
I'm Saburo. I'm 25 years old. And then they're both in the same field, and you're telling me that the second that guy says I graduated, let's say, I mean, I'm not going to do the math, let's say 2009, then from that point on, the 40-year-old that has never been this person's kohai is now his kohai. and then hold up, and then so that means that the 20-year-old is expected to pay for the food at this nomikai, not the 40-year-old with a job for 15 years or whatever.
どういうこと？待って。もう一回。
Remember, I'm saying in my example, the 40-year-old has been working in the industry for a really long time. So he has like a good salary and he has all this money. I'm just saying, if he's not senpai, then that means the 20-year-old has to pay for the nomikai or the izakaya. でしょ？
その40歳の人が、その20歳よりも下の学年？
Yeah, exactly.
それは、どうなんだろうね。ケースバイ、なんかそこまで言ったらさ、さすがにさ、個人個人で払うかもしれないね。split.
I'm just trying to figure out where the line is because that sounds so funny to me.
わかんないんだよね。
A guy's like, yeah, I've never worked actually. And the other guy's like, yeah, I've been working for 15 years. And then he's like, but I'm Kouhai, so you actually have to pay for my food.
なんかそれがどっちも、大学生だったら確実に20歳の先輩の方が払う。40歳であろうが、それは後輩だから。
I've learned a lot. That sounds wrong. That's pretty much all I got.
何がしたいの？ねえ。だって先輩側も後輩側もさ、後輩側は、おごってもらえるから、得かもしれないけどさ、何がしたいのかね。
Yeah, everybody here. I want to hear your everybody complain about their kohai in the comment section.
マジでちょっと理解できない本当に。ちょっと別に反社会とかなんていうの別にこういうルールをさ破りたいとかではなく普通になんか理解できない。
Your disclaimers. You're going to feel the rage of kohais across the nation.
ごめんなさいね。もし後輩とか先輩で聞いている人がいるのであれば、全然私の周りのこと言ってるわけではなくね、日本全体のことなのでね、そう。はい、ご了承ください。はい。
ご了承ください。
ご了承くださいね。
新しいアニメのシーズンが始まる。イェイイェイ。
イェーイ Congrats!
あゆみはあまりアニメ見ないかもしれないから、そんなに大事なことじゃないんだけど、私にとってすごく素敵な季節。
Yeah, good for you.
で、長いアニメの話をするつもりないんだけど、一応言いたいことがある。王様ランキングというシリーズ、あゆみに話したことはあるんだけど、リスナーさんがこういうアニメについて何もなんか知らないか、何もなんかエピソードをすら見てない人なら、ぜひぜひ、ぜひというか、お願い。最初のエピソードぐらい見てください。最高。だから。
Okay. 王様ランキングね。
王様ランキング。
Is it popular in Japan?
という。だと思う。なんか2017年に漫画は発売され、で、2021年にアニメがもうなんか公開されてるから、結構、ある程度人気でしょ？人気じゃなかったらアニメ化される、なんかそういうことは ならないと思う。
Well, yeah, maybe. So, if you guys know this anime, then leave us comment below or send us messages. Yeah, emails.
最近最終エピソード、放送されたから、一応、なんかすごかった。
No. Like, I want to know
ぜひ見てください。
what kind of story is it? Like, no spoilers, but just a little bit of
私がネタバレに関しては、なんかあらすじもネタバレだと思う人だから、なんか何にも言いたくない。でも、そのなんか制作の質はすごい。 で、ジブリのアニメのスタイルが好きな人なら、すごく好きだと思う。このアニメ。
Okay.
最初にちょっとなんか子供っぽく見えるかもしれないんだけど、話は、子供向きの話じゃないので、それを分かってください。
Okay.
クレヨンしんちゃんではない。
Yeah, Joey is recommending you guys this anime, so if you haven't watched it, please go and check it out.
オープニングとエンディングテーマはすごくいいから、それも聞いてください。
Okay, yay, yay.
じゃあ、次の話。
Okay, so
一応アニメの報告。
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the update. And so this time I want to make a confession here.
告白ってこと？
Yeah.
学校のなんかビル前の告白。
No. I mean like, I have a secret. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you. Which is,
どうぞ。
I am afraid of people. Yes.
人は怖いよね。
Yes. Like,
特に後輩？
No. I mean like, so some of you guys might guess that I'm outgoing person because I'm putting myself on the internet and I'm doing this podcast, but I am not an extrovert. Like more like I'm introvert. Yes. And I literally like got used to like live alone and like spend time all by myself doing like things that I can do myself. So
例えば
like for example running. Like running you can do yourself. So I don't need any like friends or people who join me. Yeah. And so like, I don't know, like literally when I talk to people, I feel my heartbeat goes faster and faster and then just like I feel nervous. Yeah. Yeah. Even for friends and yeah.
あいみだけの問題じゃないと思う。なんか最近みんながインターネットとソーシャルメディアにハマってるから、そういう人と話すというか、その同じ場所にいるのは、控えてる人が多いかもしれない。
I guess. Yeah, and then also we have this corona pandemic, and since this started, I guess, yeah, that was the starting point of me feeling alone and like afraid of people. Yeah. Do you think this corona pandemic really had an effect on Japanese loneliness?
まあみんなの loneliness に影響を与えたと思います。
Do you think there's any difference between Japanese and American like loneliness?
まあもともとアメリカの社会だと、まあレストランだったりゲームショップとかだったり、そういうなんか相手知らなくても話ができる文化がある。一応なんか外国人がアメリカについて話してるときにみんながうるさくて、でも同時に社交的という印象に残るでしょ。
Well, yeah.
その意味で、まあ、もちろんそういうインターネットにハマってる人はたくさんいるんだけど、なんか自分の家から出たら人とのコネクションができると思う、一応。でもなんか日本だとそういう文化がまあ多分田舎の方あるかもしれないんだけど、そういうなんか賑やかな東京とか大阪
Mhm.
で、まあ大阪は違う。大阪でみんなは、
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
なんか
Osaka
話しや
kind
す
of,
い。
yeah, yeah. Osaka people are like more, how do I say it, talkative. Like they talk to strangers and then they make a lot of jokes. And so I think the Osaka people are more like American people, I
まあ、
guess.
大
Yeah.
阪以外の都市
Yeah,
で
yeah.
こういう現象があるかな。
Yeah. Also, like in Japan, we have lots of things that we can enjoy without having people around you. So you can go to net cafe alone and then you can read manga, anime, or whatever. Like you don't need friends, you know, like in a confined room. So like
You
yeah.
don't need friends というに、なんかそれはこの行事をやるために友達が必要じゃないってこと？それともなんか一般的に友達はいらない日本は。
No. I mean, like, if you go to net cafe, then you don't have to bring friends to read
そうそう。
anime, right?
まあ一応そういう期待が、なんか社会からの期待がない。
Yeah.
まあないというか、小さい。
Yeah. And then more like, since they want to enjoy themselves, they go to net cafe, like, since, like, yeah, they want to spend a long time, you know?
うん。
And there's this, 一
でも
人カラオ
私が
ケ。、
ごめんね。
あ、
いや、続けてくださ
Go
い。
ahead.
その一人いや、その一人でのカラオケ。これは私の、何でしたっけ？忠告？
Okay.
一人でカラオケやってる人、優しい、いい人かもしれないんだけど、なんと言えばいいんだろうね。そういうコード完全にわからない。
Well, like, I mean, I kind of understand.
自分の部屋でできない人がいるかもしれない。
Yeah, because
ごめ
like,
んね。アメリカだとみんなは自分の家で、まあ田舎だと、大声で歌えるんだけど。
yeah,
なぜ
we
わざ
can.
わざ、
Yeah.
歌うために、カラオケに行かなくちゃいけないと思う。でもまあ。
Well, yeah, that like, I understand why people go to hitori karaoke because like, if you go to karaoke with friends, like, I mean, like, me personally, I'm not interested in J-pop, like Japanese songs. And how do I say, like, and I like Western music. Ne? And then, like, if I sing Western music, Western songs, then I kind of, like, how do I say, assume that they don't like my songs. So, like, I don't know. And also, I don't want them to think that my singing is bad or good. So, in that point, yeah.
いや、同情できるそのことに関して。
私
がカラオケに行ったとき、でも逆だった。まあ私が日本というか、アニソンが好きな人で、一緒に歌ってくれた人が、欧米の、歌に興味を持ってたから、そういう曲を選んでいたんだけど、私が好きなアニソンを選んだときに、なんか、私だけがこういうような歌が好きだなと思って、めっちゃ恥ずかしかった。
Yeah, right? So, to avoid those kind of, how do I say, awkwardness or like, embarrassing moments, people go to hitori karaoke, I guess. Yeah, right.
まあ、アグレツコというアニメがあるんだけど、で、そのアニメで主人公が、仕事に行くときにすごく嫌な思いを、するときがたくさんあるから、なんていうか、ストレスの解消として、カラオケに行って、大声で叫ぶ。 というシーンがたくさんあるんだけど、まあ、それになんか私がなんか田舎に住んでるから、いつでも大声で叫ぶんだけど、なんかやりたかったら。でもまあ、日本だとそういうことできないかもしれないから、そういう視点から、その一人でのカラオケがわかるんだけど、なんか田舎だと、一人カラオケをやったら、ちょっと意味わかんないんだけど、その場合に関して。なぜかというと、なんか、ただ YouTube である曲を調べて、自分の部屋で歌えるから。
You know, like your voice is gonna sound different in karaoke box, right? Like compared to your confined room. And you're also using microphones, so you sound better in
でも
karaoke box.
マイクは他の人のためのものでしょ？他の人が聞こえるため。一人だったら意味ないじゃん。
And then you also, like, you can pretend to be a singer. So you can enjoy the moment being in a singer.
でもなんかその曲が終わる途端がすごく、まあその、瞬間というわかんないんだけど、そのなんか、その瞬間はめっちゃ悲しいでしょ。そのなんか、歌って、その曲が終わるときに、そのそのなんか絶対的な静かさ。
Like a silence. Like, so if people are listening to your singing,
いやいやいや、
then
一人でいるときに。
Yeah.
そのなんか一人で生きて、なんか自分がやってることに気づく。
Yeah, I know. Yeah. There's no, like, applause.
プラスというか、その自覚が湧いてくる。
like, I'm being
まあなんか、
ぼっち。
ぼっちすぎる。でもなんか友達といるときに、まあ、他に人は次の曲をもうすでに選んでるから、次の曲やろうぜとか、そういう雰囲気あるから、そんなに恥ずかしく、まあ、曲が終わった時の恥ずかしかあまりないと思うんだけど、その一人での、なんか例えば、まあ、あゆみは他の人とあまりなんかビデオゲームやらないでしょ？なんか友達と。
Yeah, I don't play any video games.
で、ある現象は、なんか、友達とビデオゲームをやってる時の、みんながなんか、その別れてからの5秒、なんか自分の部屋で一人で、椅子に座ってる、その自覚がすごく、なんか、私一人だった。なんか今まで、という感じがするんだけど。
Yeah, I think there should be a word for that. Because, like, it's like everyone's feeling the same. We should invent a word for it.
考えてる。
Like, it's like thunder みたいな感じ。
いや、ちょっと違うんだけど。
ちょっと違うけど、it's like, like realizing you're doing this alone. でしょ？
そう、なんか、一応人と話してるから、まあ、いや、ちょっと面白いよね。そういうなんか、他の人と、まあ、5秒前話してたんだけど、本当の意味で話してなかったという。
Yeah. You mean online? Is it online game?
オンラインの会話とか、もちろんなんか実際に誰かと話してるときに、そういうなんか突然の途切れがないと思うんだけど、なんか一応みんなが別れて、なんか車とか、まあ、アメリカだと車に入って自分の家に戻っちゃう。
Well, I guess, yeah, we feel more like that in this pandemic period. You know, like you talk to people online, but actually, like you're not talking to them in person, so you feel like, oh, I'm alone in my room. Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
うん。
It's a lonely society we have right now.
世界のそれとも日本のそれとも、まあ、世界の。
I mean, like, a lot of people, like, in the world are feeling the same. And for Japanese people, maybe they feel more lonely, yeah, than, like, people from the world. Yeah.
で、私たちの、なんていうか、この雰囲気で終わるのはちょっと、悲しいから、なんていうか、おすすめ、アドバイス。
Yeah, we need advice for, how do I say, to feel less lonely, right?
アドバイスをくれるんじゃなくて、アドバイスをあげなくちゃいけない。
we have to give them advice? Sure, I don't know.
アドバイスをあげなかったら、ちょっと寂しいなんていうか、雰囲気になっちゃうから。
I guess like people are feeling the same as we do. So if you can synthesize with us, then please send me emails at
lazyfluency@gmail.com for all your
Great
questions.
Job.
And,
Yeah.
I don't know, advice.
Advice.
We need to give a prize to the first.
Just maybe talk
リス
to
ナーさんが
people.
メールをしてくれるとき。
そう。
まあ、誰かと話すために誰かに会わなくちゃいけないでしょう。まずその問題を解決しないと。サークルと部活。まあ、コロナの影響も、なんか今でも、強いでしょう。なんか日本だと。そういう。
We're having like a seventh wave for the virus.
まあ、その同じように、なんか、同じような気持ちを感じてる人を、まあ、なんていうか、そのコメントで、まあ、感想というか、お互いが、お互いの気持ちが分かるためのコメントとか。
Yeah, that will mean, to all of us.
And we're back. And this time, first of all, even though we ended by saying please send emails to lazyfluency@gmail.com, I'm going to reiterate it because we want emails or even one email.
それからあれだよね。
So if you have any, go ahead.
なんだ、ソーシャルメディアフォローしてね、まあ、そこのポストにコメントとかしていただければね、ありがたいでございます。
Yeah, eventually you'll probably put more effort into like Facebook and Twitter posts.
そうだね。
At least we're putting a decent amount into like other social media, so yeah, so if you have any questions, comments, language related and or otherwise, please send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com and then we might respond.
ね、
Actually,
あと、
we'll definitely respond.
トピックのね、何について話してほしいとかね、あればね、ぜひね、メールで待ってますんで、ぜひぜひ、はい。ご利用くださいまし。
We'll even apologize to all the Kouhai that we've upset.
ごめんなさい。後輩ね、まあ、おごれよ、このクソ先輩とか思ってる人はね、ぜひそれも書いてください。はい。
Yes, please send us your angry, hateful comments. Anyways, I think this is good to call a rant. Is my issue with everything being shortened to a ridiculous degree. I might have talked about this to some extent, but
でも、あれじゃない
Japan has this.
Oh,
go ahead.
この前長いのでラントしてなかったっけ
Okay, so exactly. So this is why I'm just saying it's like a perplexing beast the Japanese is, where if you're speaking, what's the word? Oh god, this is actually really hard to explain. Verbs and other stuff are very long. They have like a tendency to be very long, and that's considered proper, nice, cool Japanese. My problem is with any noun or anything that could be like construed as a noun getting shortened to the point of losing all meaning, and then you just kind of have to memorize the phrase by itself. I have a few examples here.
Okay.
Which for things that I didn't even know where the origin of the word was, but I'm not sure if you know the term yaoi. Do you know the term yaoi?
Yaoi?
Yaoi.
ちょっと説明して。
Well, it's like a genre of well, I mean, okay, so there's like the English understanding of it, and then there's the Japanese understanding of it. They're a little different. So the English understanding of it is basically just works where gay men are intimate with each other. That's kind of the American understanding, and the Japanese one is basically. I think it actually basically carries the same meaning now, but it used to carry a different meaning where it meant like works with men, or works like that already are written. For example, like, I mean, let's say like Naruto or something, where like people would make the characters in Naruto, like Naruto and Sasuke, like make out or something like that. And so like very lewd.
何それ BL ってこと
Not BL, but that's the thing. Technically, there's BL originally. BL is just men, and like them have like BL can be original. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be a unique BL story, but yaoi, at least the original meaning was it was basically from some other work. Like you take Naruto and make two people make out, but BL could be like you make a story that is BL. Apparently, I was reading like a whole Yahoo Japanese answer on the history of this term, but I was thinking, I'm like, what does yaoi actually mean? What kanji make up this word? And it turned out everything went into a super convoluted rabbit hole that yaoi actually can be written in many ways, and each letter in yaoi stands, it's like an acronym that even, okay, we're just gonna go through it. So yaoi is yaoi, and ya means yamanashi, o means otinashi, and then I means iminashi. As in the story has no, what would you call it? No like high point, there's no like high point, no climax, and there's no meaning to it. So basically they're just saying it's like smut. It's just people making out or whatever. And you're like, how's that convoluted? It's just an acronym. No. The history of this term stems from apparently, like, I don't know if it's a library or somewhere, like it being filed as, what was it? Like with a specific number, like 801. And then 801, because yaoi.
Yaoi.
Or whatever. Yeah, and then it turned to this whole thing, and eventually now people just say yaoi. And I'm like, that is really convoluted. And there's another example of this with like the kusa. You know what I'm talking about? Like the laughing kusa?
あれはね、あれだよ。それはなんか別のストーリーで、なんか頭文字とかではなく、なんだっけ、私の記憶が合ってればね、確か2チャンネルかなんかで、なんだっけ、笑ってさ、その W って書くんだよ。笑ってる時の。
Yeah.
それをいっぱいわらわらわらって書くと草に見えるから、それが草になったんじゃなかったっけ、確か。
Yeah, no, exactly. No, so that's my point. I'm saying like in an effort to shorten everything gets like super hyper condensed in like a multi-factor like system, such that if you just look at kusa, like I remember when I just first saw kusa, I was like, what the hell am I looking at? What? Why is everybody just putting?
なんでその grass のさ、草をさ、ここで使うかっていうね。意味わかんないよね。
And like, yeah, and there was another one where I learned that like, so like computer science terms where like for server, apparently one way to write server is to, instead of writing like saba, which is what to be the katakana, is you just do the, I think was it a fish or something? Just saba. Like
saba?
A kanji de. Yeah, saba. Yeah.
サーバーをサバって書いてたんだ。
Yeah, and I just saw that. And there's some other examples of that too. And I was like, what the hell? So I was reading it and I'm like, why are they talking about fish? And it's not just about like, yeah, so this pattern of making things more obscure in every facet possible
うん。
also extends to things that I'm like are just unnecessary. So like in English, if you just want to say a car window, you just say car and then window, and it's fine because everybody knows car and window.
うん。
And in my head, I'm like, this should be the case for like the same thing in Japanese. You can just say kuruma no mado, you know, or just even drop the no, because people drop no's in casual conversation. Just say kuruma mado. But no, you can't say that.
車窓。
You instead have to say shaso. And you're like, isn't that the same thing? Car and window? No, because you're now using onyomi, and now the listener has to guess, are you talking about like shashin no sha? De? Like
ああ
soushin no
ね。
so? Like what is shaso? And then if you're like are just listening to it, it just the word, like you're just trying to talk about a car window, but suddenly now you're playing a multi-level guessing game of trying to figure out what they're talking about. And especially since there's like at least from my opinion, there seems to be like a leaning on like the more formal you want Japanese to sound, the more you change any, like all words into onyomi kind of like
うん。
pairs.
うん。
Oh, what was the example I think you talked about instead of roll, like in roll or something? No, nyushitsu. Instead of tachiiri, it was like
ああ、立ち入り
nyushitsu.
禁止立ち入り
Yeah,
禁
instead of
止がなんだっけ
that's
入
a
出禁
casual way
止。
to do it.
あ、入出禁止ね。うん。
Yeah, nyushitsu.
あ、入
And then I
出、
was like, or
入、
oh, nyushitsu. Yeah,
うん。
nyushitsu. And I was like, I understand what tachi and iri means, but and then obviously I understand what nyushitsu means as well. But like when you change everything from like there, it's kind of hard to make a comparison in English because like we don't have multiple readings for something.
う
But like in my head, like everybody understand basic nouns. If you like keep
ん。
the same basic noun pronunciation, it makes it a lot easier to understand.
う
But that's
ん。
not cool or formal.
うん。
And so as yeah. And there's also something about this with like what's it called? Title names
うん。
for like TV shows
ああ、ド
and
ラ
like
マとか
movies.
ね。うん。なんか、なんか、いろいろあるな。で、私さ、日本のドラマ見ないかわかんないけどさ、正しい、ちょっと違うタイトルだったらごめんなさいだけど、逃げ恥っていうやつがめちゃめちゃ有名だったの。それが、逃げるが恥だが、逃げる
Is
は
this an American
恥だ
drama?
が、なんとかかんとかっていう、まあ、それが全部のタイトルで、で、それをみんな逃げ恥って呼んだりとか、
Is that an American drama you said? Or
日
Japanese
本の
one?
ドラマ。日本のドラマ。
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about. So like one example that I have is there's a show called Seishun Buta Yaro wa Baningaru Senpai no Yume o Minai. And then that gets shortened down to Aobuta. And you're
全
like,
然違うじゃん。
I was like, I didn't say, well, here's how they got it. And this is like my problem is why it's so confusing. It's not even Seishin Buta or whatever. It's Aobuta. And why is it Aobuta? Well, Seishin starts with
青
Se,
春じ
which
ゃ
can
な
be
きゃ
read
意
as
味ない
Ao.
よ。
Well, no, it can be read as Ao.
で、そしたら、
And
ブ
so
ルー
then
のね、豚だけじゃん。
exactly. I'm saying that's my point. You lose all meaning in terms of it's kind of like if you had like it was sort of like playing a game of telephone, but also like using like very bad compression software, like on a music, like on a CD disc, where it starts as a very clean, beautiful thing, and someone's like, I bet I can make my own cut of the music and make it sound better. And then they do it and then edit it and then give it to their friend who then edits it and then gives it back to you. And then you're like, what is this? And you're like, oh, that's the original song.
ねえ、なんかよく短くしすぎよね。長いから短くするんじゃない？
Well, yeah, that's why it's a weird balance. I'm saying that was kind of one of my problems about with katakana wants to be long, and this happens a lot with katakana like as well, but like it wants to be long, and same in Japanese wants to be long, but kanji wants to be small. So you have this like eternal fight between within the language itself, because it's like I don't know what I want to be.
確かにね。まあ、はい、慣れてくださいね。この日本の文化に。
I mean, or I can just keep complaining. I was planning to.
ね。
I had a plan to just. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
はあ
That bell means we've reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us in another lazy conversation towards fluency. If you have any language-related questions and or are just looking for general advice, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com and we might respond in the next episode. Also, make sure to check out our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We'd appreciate the support. This has been Joey.
And Ayami.
Signing off. じゃあね。
じゃあね。
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.